Good morning from the Wisconsin shores of Lake Michigan. I am here to talk a little bit about what it means to be on a Great Lake. Something that I think I've taken for granted since I've lived here my whole life. Lake Michigan is just the lake. It's this big body of water, and as I've gotten to know people who live either in other parts of the United States or across the world, explaining how a lake can be as deadly and dangerous, how it can create its own microclimate, how it can have mini tsunamis and other natural disasters, I've realized that it might be helpful to understand what makes Lake Michigan a Great Lake. One of the reasons that the Great Lakes are a bit more than just a lake is because you actually can't see the shore. Over the horizon is the state of Michigan. When we think of a lake, we think of a circular body of water where you can see the houses and the cabins on the other side. But in this case, it's much more like a sea, like the Mediterranean or the North Sea. It's this massive body of water that can get waves up to 10, 20 feet high. Lake Michigan is unique in that it's a very narrow, long lake. So as the wind travels down, it can pick up speed. It also can develop a wash basin effect. So if the wind is blowing just right, it can actually send the waves in this rocking motion and create, I think it's called a seach or even a pseudo tsunami, where water levels will rise rapidly in an area because of the way a storm has blown the water. Because of this, especially in like October and November, the lakes can become very deadly. Storms can rise out of nowhere and trap boats on the water. In my book, Shipwrecked Faith, my fictional characters are actually on the historic SS Wisconsin, which did sink off the coast of Racine, Wisconsin on October 29, 1929. You might remember that particular date as Black Tuesday, the day the stock market crashed. The Great Lakes are also known for the number of lighthouses. You can see one there in the distance. Because of how dangerous it is, there are quite a few lighthouses along Lake Michigan. Another aspect that makes the lakes unique is the amount of surface area. Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, even though they're two different lakes, because of the way they connect, they are considered a single body of water. And the surface area of the two lakes, an inch of water is about 800 billion gallons of water. And if you get enough winter runoff and river flooding and rain and storms, the lake can rise and fall inches, feet, because of all of that water. So the Great Lakes are big and dynamic. They can create their own microclimates on the towns right along the shore, whether lake effect snow or perhaps milder winters or cooler summers. They are truly great, and I love setting a lot of my stories along their shoreline. Thank you again for joining me for today's episode of Field Notes. I enjoyed bringing you to the shores of Lake Michigan, and I hope that you have enjoyed listening to the soothing sounds of the waves as I talked about the dynamicness of Lake Michigan.